Hey everyone, welcome back to Arrival at ATM. We have a panel session planned to discuss the future of technology and distribution and OTAs and the outlook for our sector. Really delighted to have with us for this session Julia Randau, the Regional Director for Get Your Guide. Julia, welcome.
Thank you.
And we have Ian Renton, the Director of Sales for the amazing Atlantis Resort in Dubai. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And of course, we also have Assam Salah, the co-founder and CEO of Ocean Air Travels, DMC for the UAE. Assam, great to see you.
Great to see you, my friend. Thank you so much.
So, what I love about this panel too, I just want to say and highlight this is, we have three very distinct perspectives from the industry in a resort attraction, in a distribution company, in an online travel agency, and then also in Assam's case with a DMC and tour operator. So representing those three key segments of our industry. So we have a lot to talk about. I want to get into kind of technology and distribution. So much has changed over the past year and a half and lots of change to come. But first, I just want to get a sense, from each of you, and how have things, can you just size up where you are? How have things, been over the past 15 months? I know it hasn't been easy. Assam, I'll start with you.
So it was very hard. It was a surprise because we were just preparing for the Expo 2020 here in Dubai and also other destinations, because we expanded through other destinations like Egypt and Qatar and Oman. So when the pandemic hit, we didn't know what decisions to take, what to do with our people. Our people are the core of our business, and at the same time, our venues. I can't give for 40 camels unpaid leave. So what I'm going to do with this? It was hard, and we thought of just keeping all of our guys, because we can't run the show without our safari captains and our city buses drivers, and also the tour guides, who we gathered and built them over almost 7 or 8 years. Plus the vehicles, a lot of vehicles we have, and what are we going to do with this vehicle? We never thought of parking all of these vehicles in one spot. So the decision was just to keep everyone in place, and we initiated something called Oceanarians Emergency Cash that can help our people. We can't keep everyone paid, but we're going to keep the ones that we can, and the ones we cannot, we're just going to activate something for them that can help them keep to all contracts, all visas in the Gulf countries, because most of them are foreigners. So and that's what we did. Plus, this helped us somehow to start renovating using the guys we kept. Our venues like the desert safari camps and all, we understood that we have another camp we have to build. So we built it, we started building the second camp and renovating the existing camp in Dubai. While doing this, surprisingly, I found a lot of guys who are handicraftsmen, painters, plumber, carpenters. So the idea was we had 2 projects in the pipeline pre-COVID-19, the restaurants, and the most touristic spots of the 2 cities, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, one inside the mosque and one inside the historical city of Dubai. So we decided to use these guys, since they were amazing guys using renovating our camps. Surprisingly, we decided to use them, and instead of just paying 1.5, 1.7 million for fit-out companies, if we were running the operations, why not to use these people? And the best thing was we moved. Yes.
Well, so and with all of this and this work that you're doing, is there a market? I know there's been some kind of, certainly an expat market in the UAE, and we've been hearing about from time to time it's been open to certain countries. So at some point, I think over the winter season, we had a lot of travelers from Europe and the UK coming. Has there been any business?
No, that decision when we decided to do these things was just by April 2020, just like 1 or 2 months after the pandemic. And we've decided to carry on and work on the projects that we had in the pipelines, like the 2 restaurants. And we took our guys, our laborers, and we moved them to the spots and the venues. We started creating the ideas. By luck, we found why not to just, instead of going to a carpentry shop, to go to all the carpentry shops in the city and pass by them and collect all the waste that they have of wood. And that reduces the cost and could help us also to create kind of the responsible tourism that we always dreamed of. We couldn't do it when the pandemic was pre-COVID, because the business was so much, we couldn't actually afford to apply it immediately. Plus, we also helped some people in the society by the tailors and all of this. And from that, we started adding to the venue. It's not only going to be a restaurant to help our day tours, like what we had before the COVID. It's going to be a restaurant that will be giving us cooking classes, will give us food experiences. We will have some marriage functions. You can attend the Emirati marriage functions there. And it was one of, we can say it's the only venue that helps the tourists and locals alike. From that point, we focus so much on locals. And I think now we have 90% of our venue customers, because we opened Dubai last December, mainly locals, and it's a great revenue we would never think of pre-COVID.
It's an amazing example of, and we've seen this around the world, of different companies that have had to make these shifts, and actually as a result discovered some new markets that they really hadn't thought about because they were too busy with tourism. So Ian, tell us about how are things at Atlantis?
Well, yeah, it's certainly been unprecedented times, and I would say the business almost grinded to a halt overnight, which we certainly didn't expect. But similar to Essam, we used this time to really invest back into our product. We had, the luxury, I suppose, in somewhat way, of time, and that enabled us to undergo one of the biggest water park expansions in the world. We expanded our water park by 1/3, and it's really put us and taken us on a journey of setting the stage to become the world's largest aquatic theme park. We also used the time as well to invest and retrain our staff and our colleagues that we have across here. And again, in a normal trading environment, we wouldn't always have the luxury of time to do that. So we really made use of the time to invest back into what we're doing and to ultimately improve the guest experience.
Maybe just if there's one kind of particular, investment or kind of shift from the guest experience that maybe you could highlight, what's something that will be, fundamentally kind of different if I'm a guest, say coming next year, which I really do hope to, and staying at the Atlantis versus pre-COVID.
Well, we've built a brand new tower, which is Trident Tower, sits 48 meters tall. We've got now the world's tallest water slide, the longest family rafting water coaster in the world. We've got the tallest vertical drop body slide in the Middle East, and the first cliff jumping in the region. So we've increased up to 105 slides, attractions and experiences. So there's certainly plenty for one to experience. If they've visited us before, they'll certainly see a lot of changes. Okay, well, I'm not sure I can do all of those things you just mentioned, but I'm not sure. I'll keep it in mind. So so Julia, Get Your Guide, you've got a view on. Obviously, you're focused on the region in the Middle East, but also as a global marketplace, you've got a unique view of what's happening around the world. One of the things I highlighted in my opening talk is, just how extraordinarily uneven both the impact of the pandemic has been, as well as the recovery, where we see certain segments are up actually dramatically over 2019, and yet others are still almost in a complete closure or lockdown. What's the view from Get Your Guide, both regionally but also globally?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Douglas, and happy to be here again. So similar to Essam and Ian, it's been unprecedented times. We went off to get a look for a really strong year. 2020 would have been the best ever, and then we lost 99% of the bookings overnight globally. And obviously, it wasn't only, just to think about that challenge a little bit, it wasn't only that we lost the bookings, but it was, as for everyone, the uncertainty. How will it recover? How will it look like? Where and when? As no one knew, right? So it was very difficult to plan. But I would say there a little bit what both Essam and Ian mentioned on. This made us forced to take a pause and think, what's the really important thing we need to do for our customers and for all our partners and attractions post-pandemic to really take it to the next level? So I would say we've sharpened that focus and coming out stronger from a strategic perspective. But then when everything happened, obviously it was emergency state. We focused everything on the customer to refund everything to them, even if that was very costly. But we believe that would also help the whole industry to dare to book in the future. And now to a little bit answer that question of how it's looking and how it's outlook, I would go back a little bit what you mentioned, Douglas, in your talk. It's very uneven, and it goes very quick, the recovery in certain areas. And here I would give an advice to everyone to really think about that. When the recovery comes, it comes straight away, hard force. You need to be prepared. You need to have the availability uploaded. You need to have great inventory in place. You need to have all the opportunities for customers to make the booking. And did you want me to check a little bit of how we're looking globally as well at this? Was that also the question?
If you would, if you are, and I think also what would be interesting too, especially for our viewers, our attendees from the Middle East, I think it's a real question too, is what markets are going to recover? We just spoke to Zaina Dagher from Emaar before, who said, boy, 2 months ago or 3 months ago, they were really starting to ramp up to welcome the Indian market back because it looked like they had crossed a big, hurdle with COVID. And then of course, we all know what's happened now, and we're all obviously concerned about the outlook for India. So, how are you planning about the return of different markets, especially for the Middle East?
So look, it's all connected to success of rollout of vaccination programs and an ease to travel for our customer. One great example, we had an amazing November, December month, when there was a quarantine-free travel corridor between UK and Dubai. It was extreme growth, like 3-4x growth to a normal year, right? So we had huge numbers in Dubai through that. So people want to travel. There is a very strong sentiment to travel, but it's all connected to how corridors are open, regulations from government, etc. But what we're seeing globally right now is Dubai has done well. As a region, really been super efficient in vaccination. So I believe it will be an incredible strong next peak season with Expo around the corner. And we're also seeing that many people have not got that sunny getaway in the European summer, because still many people are struggling in Europe, right, to be able to travel here. And then from more of a global lens, U.S. is leading our recovery. It's incredible numbers that we're seeing. We're already past 2019 numbers for the same time across the board. And we're seeing same patterns in Australia, New Zealand. And also now, luckily, we may have a European peak season. We're seeing Germany and UK are starting to get a little bit more light by the end of the tunnel. So connected to vaccination rollouts. But again, I just want to say to the audience, you need to be prepared. It goes much quicker when it happens and the travel sentiment is there. But it takes time to get all your inventory in place again, right? And load the availability and making sure that everything is connected, that should be connected, etc. So that would be my advice.
So Ian, let me then pose this to you. When the recovery comes, according to Julia, it's going to be fast and furious. How do you, this is the $1 million question, right? How do you plan? How do you resource when right now still, I'm presuming the volume is, extremely low level, and there's still a question of when, right? It could happen in 2 weeks, or there could be a delay. It could happen in 2 months, or we could be further out. So there's this huge unknown. How do you, as an organization, how are you guys, planning from a supply perspective and also from a marketing perspective?
Well, there's a couple of things, Douglas. I think the word that I always hear for the past 15 months or so is being nimble. yeah, and being on your toes. And I think also with what's happened, it's really forced us to diversify our business even more than what we probably would do in the past, and essentially not put our eggs all in one basket. So looking out to new key source markets that are coming into the destination, and also trying a lot of different things as well. That's another good thing in a way that the pandemic has brought us. It's allowed us to be a lot more daring and try things in the past that perhaps we wouldn't do, or the risk attached to it was a lot higher than what it would normally be. So yeah, being nimble, diversifying, and really just keeping our fingers on the pulse, working together with the government authorities and with our airlines, and sharing information so that when things do come back, and it will come back quick, we're at the front of the queue, and we're top of mind with the consumer.
Now here in the US, we are seeing a bit of a supply constraint. I know operators are struggling in fact, to hire guides in certain markets where there's a labor shortage for restaurants and hotels that are trying to kind of reopen quickly. Ian, are you any concerns about just about simply getting your supply chain and your kind of labor force ready to roll when that spigot gets opened back up?
Well, it's similar to really what I said with the business, and it's been nimble and diversifying, and I suppose in a way internally that's what we have been doing as well. For example, in December when we were busy, I was driving buggies around the resort. I was driving guests around the resort, which was fantastic. But we've also been able then to move around our existing colleague base into different areas of the resort, and at the same time maintaining the high service level and high standards that we've got. So we've not really faced a challenge with that, Douglas.
Okay, all right. So Essam, what's in your crystal ball? What's the outlook for Dubai and for the UAE for over the next 6 to 12 months, and for Ocean Air? What are you planning for?
So we have two plans, as you had before when you announced that you have the pessimistic and the optimistic plan. So we have the same. We have the positive scenario that we are expecting things will be better, especially from 1st of July, because Abu Dhabi is opening the doors from 1st of July. And yesterday we got an announcement that Abu Dhabi will also added the 3 different big countries from the main countries in our source market to the green zone, that they can enter since they have a PCR. And so our preparation is the second camp, because anyway now we are almost full with the existing camp. That camp that we used to be full 100% before, but now it's maximum 60% the maximum we can accommodate there, even when we extended the space of compared to the existing space. So we had to be ready with the second camp, and also our vehicles. So we used to handle more than 150 vehicles a day. Now if we handle the same 150 vehicle, it's just with 50% occupancy inside the vehicle. So we have to be ready. We spoke to our investors and also banks that we may ask for a bigger number immediately, but we are not expecting this to come before 1st of July. However, last 2 quarters or especially the last quarter of 2020 for 2021 will be much better than the first quarter and second quarter, and mostly the third quarter for us is kind of a shoulder quarter. The last one will be for sure a peak quarter, and it's going to be included in the in Expo. And we can say that we are a company that we are just preparing our weapons. So we have just got a water sports company right before the pandemic, which is Ocean Air Water Sports for jet ski and other activities as well. We got the restaurants in Al Khaimah. We got also the desert camps. We have a new project in Al Marmoon Desert Conservation Reserve, which is the only tour company will be handling a safari in a classic African style safari there, just to watch the animals and all. So we're just preparing all our weapons. Once the doors are open, we just attack. So.
So, I mean, I think this is something that, we've seen, quite a bit, where where companies are making kind of multiple plans, scenario planning, right? You really have to in this type of environment. What about in the case of the customer? This is a question that we get constantly. In fact, I had a question come in during my opening talk. Julie, I'll throw this back to you for starters. There's lots of speculation about what the big changes will be from that consumer perspective. What will they expect? How will it be different? There's been lots of speculation, like no more big groups, that they're not going to go on big bus tours. It's all going to be private. It's all going to be small group. Not actually sure it's quite panning out, that way. How is the customer, the traveler, going to be post COVID? Or is this a fundamentally new traveler, or are we just getting back to the way things were?
Good question. I think in terms of hygiene and safety and so on, this is something that the post-pandemic future customer will take for granted, that it's taken care of. That if there is needs for masks, etc., if there is, keep the social distancing, all of these areas is something that we've learned to live with, right? So I really think that.
Should operators, should we be putting that messaging out like in front? Like, should that be very clear and visible for all of our kind of marketing and wherever we're touching the customer?
I mean, yes and no, to be honest. You need to be on top of what's happening in your country, and that's difficult, right? Because it's an ever-changing reality. And if that means that it's in front of center, we have put it quite clearly in terms of like the structure, what you need to think of, etc., and all the products. But this is also changing, right? So you need to be on top of everything that's changing. So I think that won't go away. However, a positive thing on this note is we really see that in our data that the sentiment traveling is starting to take over. Before, these areas stopped us from going, right? Now people really want to get out and explore again. And if we're then thinking what would then be important, what we really need to do, if there's one thing as an operator, is we need to be flexible. This is something that we're seeing. And a very interesting data point here is our customers have told us very clearly, and we did a survey with 8,000 people in our top 6 source markets, asking, what's your number one incentive to book? Being able to cancel was the number one of all of 6 of them. And what's important to tell here to everyone is we have not seen an increase in cancellation rate at all, but we have seen an increase in conversion rates. So what it basically means, people dare to book because they're a bit wary now, right? Anything could happen in the market. There could be new lockdowns, closures, cancellations, etc. But they want to go out and travel. So let's make sure we are being this flexible, meaning that we're allowing last minute cancellations, etc., because that would help all of you operators with the rebound, basically. So this is what we're seeing.
And yeah. What about in the shopping and booking path? Are you seeing any shifts in the booking window? Are close in, or people planning further out? And how is the uncertainty kind of shaping that?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes. So super interesting, and this question makes me quite excited because until now, or until recently, we've definitely seen a shortened booking window, exactly for what you're saying. People are holding off, right? We're just saying, like, can we book now? When is the time to book? And waiting a little bit last minute. And for example, we saw some data points from the U.S., which more than 70%, when being asked, are planning to make a holiday or a getaway within the next 3 months, so over the summer period in the US, right? But only around 8% of them book their activities, which is very different to what normally see, right? So a lot of bookings are to come. However, with that said, we're also seeing the opposite, Douglas, that now people are starting to see things are actually working again, right? Now I'm going to plan a little bit more further out. So we're starting to see that those booking windows in certain areas are being longer again. So what I say here is you need to be on top of your availability long term and short term if you want to win this game. So I think that's what we say.
So now we got an audience question here, and they're not, look, guys, they're not going to let you escape this. I tried to ask it before, and but people, they want to know, what's the outlook, right? Like, forecast, the rest of the year and in 2022. How is it going to compare to 2019? Like, people want to know. So so Julia, just quickly kind of start with you for the UAE. What's, how is Get Your Guide forecasting the rest of this year and in 2022 compared to 2019?
Look, it again depends on a lot of factors that we wouldn't be able to answer on today. If things are going backwards again, it's very difficult, right? But we are to bring some of our thinking into this. We really believe in that the next peak season for us would be then starting October-ish, will be very strong. And another data point that supports this is that in all our data, global data, we're seeing what do people want to do in terms of, both destination-wise and inventory-wise. And a lot that's coming up is sun. Sun, beach, relax, right? We're seeing it Caribbean, Mexico, Florida, all over, and then Dubai as well, right? And we're seeing that outdoor is important, as many have mentioned. Water activities are growing, for example. But then third, we're also seeing that people are starting to return to thinking of going back to cities. We are not leaving the cities anymore. We're seeing a lot of the data that's actually what people want to do. So a getaway. So if you take this together, water activities, outdoor activities, cities, and sun, there you go for Dubai.
So, well, that's good to hear. So Ian and Assam, I'm going to put you guys on the spot. When do you expect, at least from your businesses, we could see something approaching kind of pre-pandemic levels? Is that 2022? Ian, I'll start with you.
I mean, from our side, what we're seeing is, for the second half of the year, the numbers that we've got for forward bookings is very, very strong. You've obviously got the expo taking place in the destination, which will naturally increase the footfall to the destination. So, I'm very optimistic towards the end of this year, we would start to see things come back. The other thing that we're seeing as well is with, corporate group travels as well. You've had a lot of global entities not having teams together in the office and really recognizing the value of having face-to-face interactions and the importance of that on the road to recovery when people do fully return to their office environments. So we're seeing a lot of demand and things are looking positive towards the end of this year.
And so Ian, let me also ask you, so one of the shifts that we've seen in our industry has been a real kind of rapid acceleration of online booking. In part, attractions have had to do this for capacity management and also for contact tracing, whereas historically the sector has been, as I'm sure you're well aware, a lot of manual, paper tickets. Have you seen this at Aquaventure and Atlantis, and what are your expectations going forward?
I mean, certainly, and similar to what I'm saying, we have used this time to invest as well, and technology will play a key part of this. I think what we've found as well is that the world has slowed down. People have more time to sit on their phone in the evenings and check, okay, where should we go when things do open up? What should we go and visit? So we are seeing behaviors changing in that direction versus the old traditional way. I think ease of bookings is going to be certainly very important and is very important at the moment. People want to, have an easy process in transacting when they're booking attractions or when they're booking their holidays. So that's definitely there as well. And you're seeing consumers, using multiple devices as well, and going on social media a lot more as well. So we've had to really change our messaging and our target audience. And again, we're going into new markets as well. And these new markets may not use the same level of technology or the same devices as more traditional key source markets that we've had. So yeah, and I think, you know, touch points, removing touch points, and there's a lot of reassuring for the consumer that we have to do to reassure them that when they do come and have an experience in the destination, it is safe, and their booking is secure.
So let me, so just on that with the shift to digital, so Assam, I want to put you on the spot. So if travelers are really going to accelerate with online booking, how are they going to book? Are they going to come directly to you, or are they going to find you via Get Your Guide instead? What's your expectation?
Answer right now.
Yeah. It's the last piece of the cake, right? So since I'm somehow representing the biggest audience as tour operators, there is no much resorts, right, making attractions, and no much OTAs in the world that compared with the tour operators. I would just say it's simple, and I keep saying the same thing. It depends on how do you run it. If you're able to get your direct bookings, just go. Why are you keep complaining about the OTAs? Just go and get it by yourself. You're happy with Google campaigns? I'm happy for you. You cannot just use OTAs. If you want to use an OTAs for a short period, use them. And if you just gonna focus on your own campaigns, do it. However, I just have a piece of advice for everyone. Don't copycat a product in the market and just go to start it. Go create your own USP, have a unique sales point in your safari and your city tour. Do something. We have thought of the mosque restaurant because we wanted to dominate the segment of Abu Dhabi city tour. I want customers to say, yeah, we are having a food experience in the mosque. I'm not going outside to get my lunch. I'm just getting inside. So we work, we gain some money, yeah, we make some money, but we have to reinvest it to make our USPs. If you can create your own USP and you have a unique product, trust me, it will go everywhere. Your direct website with OTAs and all. But by the end of the day, if you are not a focused company or a tour operator and OTAs, that means you're not flexible with availability. You don't have flexibility for cancellations. You're not able to accept higher volume of business if your product is trending, and just be safe and with your direct bookings. But I doubt, and I argue all tour operators, they can afford the expenses of digital marketing and web development, and the changes happen in a night that you may find Google tomorrow changing the way of SEO, and you have to adapt to this. And I think it's more expensive than working with an OTA. Well, OTA's commission is not some. I would prefer to be just 2%, but how do you run the business?
But you get a lot for that. So much.
Exactly. I mean,
but that's an important message of differentiated product. Well, look, we've come to the end, so I'm just going to very quickly wrap up with a simple game that I play. It's called Either Or. I'm going to give you each one question and two options, and you only have one of those options, and it's one or the other, and you got no other options. And we're going to wrap things up. Ian, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Advanced booking or last minute?
Last minute.
Okay. Assam, Get Your Guide or Viator?
For sure, Get Your Guide.
And right, good answer. And Julia, 2021 or 2022?
Sorry, what did you say again?
2021 or 2022?
2021.
Okay, optimism. That's what I like to hear. Ian, Assam, Julia, thank you all very, very much, and wish you all the best. And hopefully next year, maybe we can do this in person at ATM.
Would be lovely. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye,
And
guys.
thanks to all tour operators.